Well, the one thing that could be of importance for you, I think, is that one of the three coalition parties has announced that it doesn't believe in your business plan anymore, and that, yes, you can keep doing your job, but if a moment comes when Latvia has to invest in airBaltic again, they won't agree if you are still the chairman of the board. So it could be about your position after all.
Yeah, it sounds from you that I should be worried about it. If somebody says that in the morning and then says it again in the afternoon and the next day, I think also people understand. I'm doing the job and I do it as long as the shareholders want that. And it's very clear I have a contract as a CEO, and if somebody wants to terminate it, there are rules and regulations that they can do this. And I'm not sticking on my chair. But I think I do a very good job, and that's the feedback I get. But if individuals are unhappy, I have to respect that. And if you talk about the current Econ Minister, who has talked to me once in his life in his office, because so far we have not had any discussions, he says he and his party have lost the confidence. He is one of the 27 Econ Ministers of Europe. He's responsible for the economy, and we in Europe have a lot of challenges on economy, so I'm supportive of whatever we can do to have a better economy.
Yeah, but you know, he's the only minister of economy of the country who owns airBaltic, so that's why probably we're talking about him. Hearing your interviews, I see that from your point of view, we can talk about saving airBaltic only when it's about injecting money the way it happened, for example, during COVID times. And that other situations, like helping refinance the bonds, you don't call saving airBaltic, you say that's like a great opportunity, investment opportunity for Latvia. The thing is that politicians and other people here doesn't see it that way, because we just don't have that spare money to invest somewhere and wait and hope that maybe a revenue will come. We need to use that money on health, on security, on schools, and etc. And that's why the question, will we again need to look for money to invest in airBaltic, is such a big question right now. Can you answer that?
I can answer the question that the investment have been 543 million in 30 years into airBaltic. That is 340 million in the COVID time. And I can confirm that the airline had from the Latvian taxpayers more than 500 million investment. So nobody doubts that. The airline at the same time is today producing, we generate more than 700 million towards 800 million revenue. We have 1 billion impact to the Latvian GDP. We pay taxes, we have employees. So the airline also does something. It's not just a black hole, as some people call it. It's a very important, it's the 5th largest company in Latvia, a very important company. You ask me if the Latvian state has to invest money. It's a decision of the shareholder to invest money at the time when that question comes up. What I say today, we are going for an IPO, or we try to go for an IPO, and then it is up to the Latvian state during the IPO if they want to co-invest or not. But that is not the decision of the company.
Of course, it's not. It's the decision of shareholders, but it's not like they will make this decision if they don't need it to make. And if your business plan won't ask them to make that, okay, there have been a lot of speculations about further investments, and every time it seems that everyone is saying and not saying something at the same time. So maybe I will...
But the last one was in 2020 in COVID time.
Yeah, and I already mentioned that you don't see like helping refinance the bonds as investment, but still we need to find that money. And I will finish the question. I will just phrase it that way. We know that right now Latvia owns more than 90% of airBaltic shares, and that the aim is, even after IPO, to keep at least 25% so that we can further influence important decisions as well. So do you see that after airBaltic IPO, Latvia can hold on to those more than 25% and won't have to pay any extra?
That would work only if there is a certain valuation during IPO reached. If the valuation is 100 million after the pre-money evaluation, that's what it's called, after the IPO or before the IPO, then Latvia would not have to invest if we raise 300 million. If the valuation would be zero, then Latvia, to keep 25.1%, technically would have to invest up to 75 million. So between 0 and 75 million, depending on the valuation, as higher as the valuation of the company, as less the investment is needed. I cannot tell you the valuation. Nobody can today, because this will only be found out when we turn to the markets.
But so you admit that there is a possibility that we will have to invest something?
No, because you don't have to invest if you do not want to keep a certain amount of shares. If you say it is a must to keep 25.1%, I said then you have to see the valuation, and then this decides if you have to invest or not. If valuation is 0, you would have to do 75 million approximately to maintain 25%. If you don't do this, you have less shares than 25%, but you do not have to invest.
Yeah, well, of course, don't have to, but I think that I'm sure that you understand how government who has invested the money before wants to keep some control over the company.
I'm working towards that, because as more valuable as the company is, as better the chance for a higher valuation. That is exactly what we do. We try to, with the growth plan we have, to increase. We increase the EBITDA, and when we increase the EBITDA, the multiple goes up, and that means our value is higher. So there's only one way. You reduce the debt of the company, which is very limited, because for that you have to produce very big profits, or you increase the EBITDA, which we do by growing with the fleet, and that is the best way forward to get a better valuation.
Before we talk about debts and the value of the company, do you see airBaltic can make a contract with a strategic investor and also successfully go through IPO as it's planned, in the case if you are removed as the chairman of the board by the council?
That is a decision, that is a question I cannot answer, because when I'm not running the company, I have no influence on any of the processes. So that would be something which would have the person to decide who runs the company after. But I would say everybody is replaceable, including myself. So if the shareholders are of the opinion somebody else should run the company, then that person will get the task to do the things I didn't do.
And there are some experts saying that the firing of you would set this process back, so that's why I'm asking that.
I think you understand that I cannot say something after I'm not doing a job. What I do with all my heart is airBaltic, and I've done that in the past. I took it out of 2 major crises. I want to also take it out of the local crisis at the moment, because this is not helpful for the IPO, definitely not. But you see me giving interviews all day long to explain as good as I can.